Well, welcome to another episode of Manifesting Magically with Trevor and Ann. I'm Trevor, and with me is my good friend Ann. Ann, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I am doing pretty good. I decided that I needed a day of rest, relaxation, and self-care, um, which really just is a fancy way of saying I curled up on the couch with the cats and my spouse and watched movies. But, you know.
That sounds lovely.
It really was quite nice. But we don't talk about self-care enough. And this comes up a lot in when I do the weekly energies and stuff that, it feels like there's this desire to take this time for ourselves but it's not just that easy, is it?
No, it isn't. A lot of times we feel pressured to uh, be there for societal stuff, go out and be there with friends, do things. We have home commitments that we have to deal with. And it can be a lot to also somehow prioritize yourself in the middle of all that.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a tricky game. And like sometimes you just need to um set some healthy boundaries. I think, so like I have taken to I don't check my work email on Saturdays anymore, and I feel so much better about it.
Oh, that sounds like a really healthy thing to do.
I
I One of the boundaries that I've put in place is I don't bring my work computer home with me.
ooh, that sounds even better. I don't know, and that makes me nervous. But that's a good point, right? That's probably not a good thing that makes me nervous. Um, so anyhow, and I have something new. Do you want to look at it?
Yes, always.
I have the Witch Tool Magic Oracle deck.
Oh my gosh, how fun.
So I thought maybe we could throw just a few cards to see what the oracles say about this topic. Does that sound cool?
Yeah.
I might need help pronouncing some of the words. I'll be honest with you. Some of them I didn't fully recognize. So, which probably means it's a good oracle deck.
We'll work through it together.
All right, how many cards should we pick? I'm thinking four. I don't know why.
Four seems like a nice stable number.
Well,
Yeah.
four stability, yeah, and the Four of Pentacles, right? That one came
Yep.
out. So we start off with Cleansing Potion. I don't know if you can read that very well. Cleansing Potion. It says, release what holds you back and cleanse your energy. Well, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about.
Oh, I love it.
That's fantastic. And then we get uh, Beson. How would you say that?
BS
Besom?
Besom, I believe. And please in the comments correct us if we're mispronouncing things.
I think this is like the witch's broom, is what it is. Sweep away
Yep.
obstacles, make way for new opportunities and growth. Also, what we're talking about.
Oh, I want to learn how to make my own broom someday and then share it with you.
That would be fantastic. That is an interesting idea. The next one we get is anointing oil, and we're sort of going to talk. I'm going to sort of talk about that. Um, Bless yourself and your tools. Let your intentions seep into all that you do.
Hmm.
And the last one we get is calming tonic. Soothe your nerves, find peace in the stillness within.
That is great because that's exactly what I want to talk about today.
How on point are these oracle cards today? It's amazing.
Yeah, what a fun deck.
I'm excited to use it more and get to learn more of the stuff that's in here and new vocabulary words, which are fun. So Yeah, so what do you have for us today on the topic of like, I guess what are we talking about? Like self-love, um
Self-care. Um,
self-care.
yeah, I wanted to start getting into some of the herbs. We haven't done that yet, so I wanted to introduce our viewers to one of the herbs that we'll be working with. We will be talking about catnip today, so we may get a visitor who is currently in the middle of a sunbeam, but might come over and say hi. I brought my catnip plant with me. You can buy them anywhere. Here's what our catnip leaves look like. And once you cut them, you can dry them up, hang them upside down and dry them and make a little tea out of it. Uh, so I'm actually going to start by making my own catnip tea. And I just have a little strainer that I'm going to pop in. And I put my dried catnip into a glass jar just to kind of keep it safe. And I'll take a spoonful and just toss it in there. I think I might put another spoonful and a half and kind of get it damp into the water and just let it seep there for a while. So catnip, we are all familiar with for the most part because a lot of us have cats or know people who do have cats, and we know of catnip from that. But a lot of people don't know is that catnip can also be used for humans. Um, and catnip in humans has a slightly different effect than it does for our cats. When we use it with our cats, it is very stimulating to them. It gets them energized. They start doing stuff. And for humans, it actually has the opposite effect. It calms us down. So this is one of my favorite calming teas that I like to use. And it's a good reminder that we do not want to mix always what we give ourselves with what we give our animals because we don't know the effects that they're going to have. So we want to look those things up. When you have catnip tea, you want to make sure you use human grade catnip, which is also safe for animals. But the stuff you buy at the pet store, do not make a tea out of it. It is only for your pets. Um, there is the aroma of catnip that is very, very powerful, and we're used to smelling it. It is something that's originally from Europe, but we've, planted it in the US as well and around the world. And you want to cut off the woodless parts during a dry and sunny weather, and then you want to just dry them in the shade upside down. You can just tie a little ribbon around it and make a nice little thing to hang if you have a place to hang your catnip or your herbs to dry them out. Now, have you ever tried catnip, Trevor?
Oh, absolutely. It's one of my favorites. I don't usually drink it on its own though, and I usually mix it with either lemon balm or um sometimes mugwort.
Oh, two very good things. I love mixing it with stuff like that.
But
Now,
it's
there's some,
very minty, right? From what I remember, kind of is like a minty type taste.
yeah, it's similar to that family, the mint family. So you might find that relationship there. Um, we can talk about the practical effects of it and then maybe talk a little bit about the magical effects of it.
Yeah.
So the practical effects, it can be used to prevent or reduce a fever, but mildly. Like if you have a really big fever, I would take a Tylenol, and if it's really high, go to the hospital. It also is an antispasmodic. Ugh, I probably mispronounced that name completely. So if you have a spasm of an involuntary muscle, it can kind of stop that. It is definitely a little bit of a sedative, which is the thing that I use it for. So it's calming and relaxing. It promotes sleep, reduces our anxiety. It also is a diaphoretic, so it induces perspiration, and diuretic, which it means that it increases the fluid output. So there's a lot of different things. The information that I have, I got from my PDR for herbal medicines. That's the physician's desk reference. It's a little outdated. The one that I have is a few years old. So, always look this stuff up for yourself. Be aware that I don't have any sort of medical background. So do your own research, please, before taking anything. Make sure you do not take this if you are pregnant. I would say that's true for pretty much any herb. Just talk to your doctor before you take anything if you're pregnant. Um, and this is used in England and France as a kitchen and a medicinal herb for a long, long time. So it can be used to treat colds and fevers and migraines. But again, herbs are sort of a milder version of the drugs that we usually use in our medicine cabinet. So if you have something that is serious, go for the stronger medication and maybe not the herbal one.
That I think that's a good point. Do you know, Anne, I have a catnip story. So
Mm,
when we lived in Missouri years ago, I had a raised bed garden and I had planted some catnip and it takes over. It's pretty invasive, actually.
yep.
Anyhow, the baby fawns like to sleep in the bed of catnip. And I started doing some research. Why is that? And it's because it keeps off the fleas, the ticks, and the mosquitoes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I'll have to plant some outside this next summer and see what happens because
Yeah.
I've got a couple of, there's usually one or two baby deer in the yard that come through on a regular basis. Hmm.
Yeah. Very, very interesting stuff, catnip. And I do think that it works, and particularly if I have like a stress-induced headache, I think catnip is useful. I usually mix it with mugwort. Maybe we'll talk about mugwort at some point, but
Oh, we
uh,
definitely will. It's one of my favorites as well.
because it's kind of like a muscle relaxer is the way I think about it, without all the like harshness of it, actual medical muscle relaxer.
Yeah, mugwort is a mild muscle relaxant, so it does have a lot of precautions with it going. If you are trying to get pregnant, do not use mugwort. Obviously, like if you're trying to get pregnant, you do not want any muscle relaxers. Um, so there are some things that you have to be aware of when you take herbs and use them for teas and such. But catnip is a good pairing for mugwort. Um, it helps bring that whole body to a nice calmer space.
Which is ultimately what we kind of need. I think we're also overwhelmed all the time that just being able to even take 5 minutes, I talk about this all the time, 5 minutes in the car before you get out of it, before you go to work, or 5 minutes before you get out of the car before you go into your house if you have, young kids and your house is hectic, right? Or 5 minutes before you go into the grocery store, just 5 minutes. But your catnip tea, the making a cup of that and taking the time to enjoy it, I think is part of that self-love, self-care, self generosity. Uh yeah, I think it's a great idea. I don't think we do enough of those things.
No,
And
not on a regular basis.
I
And this
haven't
is a really nice one. It's got some lovely magical properties as well. Catnip is related to the planet Venus, the element of water, of course. And if you're going to have it, if you have a deity that's connected to it, would be Bast, the cat deity, of course. Um, and the powers, I mean, catnip is used a lot of times for cat magic, for love, beauty, happiness, that sort of a thing. Um, so a lot of times, if you give it to your cat, can help create a bond between you and your cat. which magical or not, it does create a bond because they are happy about it. Um, you can use catnip in like a love sachet. Uh, so rose petals and catnip are probably a good thing to put together. I came across a story that said you can hold it in your hand until it's warm, and then hold anyone else's hand, and then they will be forever your friend as long as you keep the catnip in a safe place.
Hmm.
And I think, Trevor, you and I should try that out next time we meet up in person. See how that goes.
Yeah.
Um, the stories go that if it's grown near the home or hung over the door, it attracts good spirits and great luck. My guess is that that came because it attracts cats, which chase away the mice, which is a really lucky thing to have for any house. Uh,
Especially during the plague.
oh, yes, definitely. Well, even if you're not in the plague, I mean, we're in the fall, which is the mice move-in season right up here. So, very good to have a cat in the house. And large catnip leaves can be pressed and used in bookmarks in magical texts.
Huh.
Yeah,
And
it's a beauty and happiness sort of spell plant that you'd use.
and I have a crazy question. So in the summertime, would it be just as effective to make it into an iced catnip tea?
Oh, of course it would.
Okay.
That sounds wonderful. Actually, what I do a lot of times is I'll have frozen berries in my freezer, and instead of putting ice cubes, I will put frozen berries in my tea.
Oh yeah.
So you
Fantastic.
could do like a sour cherry would be really good, I think, with catnip.
Yeah, it's crazy how much alike we think sometimes because we use frozen cherries all the time for ice cubes in the summer because we
Oh,
like
really?
cherry. Yeah, we love cherries. So it's like and they're, they're good for your digestive system, right?
Yep. Yep.
And also they're supposed to be good for arthritis pain, which, I talked about breaking these bones the other day on our video, and I get some arthritis in this hand because of that. And I don't know that it definitely does not take the place of arthritis medicine, but it might make it to where I don't have to take it that day. But this is one of these things. So, well, that's exciting. I think catnip, I think it smells wonderful. I think growing it near your house makes a lot of sense. It is, from what I remember, fairly invasive, like all the kind of mints. Like they just like to grow.
Every mint that I have, yeah, you have to be careful
But
because
it
it
will
will.
attract things like, baby deer and stuff because that just everything in that family, they like to roll around in it to get rid of the mosquitoes and the things that are bothering them, the gnats or whatever it is in your neck of the woods. But um, yeah, well, I have something slightly different, but along the same vein, really. So I have taken, so these little marble things. I got at the Goodwill. And I don't think they're real marble, by the way, because they weren't very expensive. But I call them marble. I don't know if they are or not. But they're real heavy. They're like stone, so they're definitely fireproof. Um, and I put a pink candle here, and I am going to add just a few different things. And so, if you wanted to write an affirmation, this would be a good time to write it. Or you can always just say it out loud, like, you know, my affirmation is, so this is some lavender. I'm just gonna put a little bit, I don't want too much there. Um, my affirmation is, uh, you know, I am taking the time out of the day to take care of myself. Just rather simple.
That's a really good one, and I think one that we don't do often enough.
Oh, absolutely. And I have a little bit of some. amethysts that came in this really cool pouch. So I'm just going to put those in here too, and I'll explain why here in just a second. So essentially what we're going to do, we're going to add some oils now. So the amethyst, you could also use rose quartz, anything that's associated with love or romance or moonstones would be another good one, I think. I have to consult my crystal notes, but those are the three that come to mind primarily. Um, and then I'm going to take some rose oil. Now you could put rose petals here. I just don't have any uh, because the roses are done here, and I sometimes you can buy rose tea, and if you want to get rose petals, that's a cheap way to do it.
Yeah, that's actually where I get my rose petals, is I bought them at the local store where I get my tea ingredients.
Okay, so I just added a couple drops of rose. And then I have another oil called Melissa. Do you know what Melissa is?
I've heard of it, but I've never worked with it.
So Melissa is just another word for lemon balm. So
Oh, that's why. Okay. Yes, I have worked with lemon balm, but not. Oh, there's so many names for these things.
yeah, so usually the oil's called Melissa instead of lemon balm.
That's okay. And I usually work with the plant rather than the oil, which is why. Yeah.
And so at this point, I would, so these are about an hour long, these candles. If you don't have an hour, that's okay. You can snuff it out. I wouldn't blow it out. I would take a candle snuffer or, even usually a spoon or something and do it like that, right? And it just puts the fire out. But I would burn it all the way to the bottom. And I like to use matches to light my candles. That's just my preference. Don't think it particularly matters, but um, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that? I was always taught matches are better than lighters. I don't know why.
Um, I find the small Bic lighters to be difficult to use.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think it matters so much, although I prefer the lighter just because I feel like it's safer. You don't have a matchstick that you have to worry about afterwards.
Yeah, it's interesting because in the Hindu religion, all the candles are lit with matches. Like it's like a thing to where, or at
Hmm.
least in our house, I don't know about others, I guess, but um, it's a thing. So anyhow, and I would let this burn all the way down. And now obviously you're gonna have to be careful when we get to the lavender, right? That's probably gonna catch fire. Um, but that's okay. If you watch it closely enough, I didn't put that much in here, so it should just smolder. And then you can take what's left over and just put it in a little satchel or you just take some plastic wrap and put it in there, wrap it up, and stick it in your handbag or your backpack or your purse or whatever as just kind of a reminder that this is uh, your life and you have worth, and don't let anybody take away your self-worth, which is the point.
I like the idea of keeping it with you as a reminder because a lot of times we do our little rituals and then we forget about them. Not intentionally, but you get busy with your day and things progress. And just having that little reminder of seeing that sachet or whatever you put it in your purse or your bag can just trigger that reminder that gets our brain back onto the track of, oh yeah, I need to take time out for my day for myself.
Yeah, exactly. And if you like the smell of rose or lavender, you can also just put a little bit of rose oil on something. It doesn't even matter what it is. That would kind of do the same thing, right? Just a piece of paper towel and just put a dab of rose oil, put that in a Ziploc. And then, when you're feeling stressed, just take a couple breaths and breathe that in. But obviously, some people are highly sensitive to that. Rose is okay with me. Lavender oil, on the other hand, usually is not unless it's really diffused. But actual lavender doesn't bother me at all, which is interesting. But those essential oils are really concentrated, so you have to be careful for sure.
Yeah, and I know I take rose water, and I spritz it over my bed occasionally, just to kind of give myself a loving place to sleep and keep that energy, that positive energy there.
I was thinking maybe one day we should make rose water. I think it's gonna have to wait until the roses bloom again. But have you ever made your own rose water?
I haven't. I've only bought it at the store.
So it's kind of a weird technique. So what you do, and we can talk about this. I don't know how I got off on this topic, but you take like a big stock pot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you put some tinfoil at the bottom of it, or something that's not going to burn. You could use like a trivet or something like that as well. And then you're going to put like a heat-proof bowl on top of that. So you don't want the bowl on the fire. That's the idea, right? So you want to raise it up off the bottom of the pan.
Okay.
And then in the pan, you fill with water and roses, and you put a lid on it. And then the water that drips down back into that bowl is the rose water.
Oh,
So
interesting.
it's a distillation technique, I guess, is probably the right word.
Yeah, so you take in my head it's like a Pyrex glass or some sort of little glass bowl that you'd use.
Yeah, you just want to make sure that it's not going to get too hot. You want to make sure it's not on the bottom of the pan so that it's not directly taking heat.
Yep. Yep.
Essentially, what you're doing is you're boiling the roses, but you don't want to use that water because that water is quite strong, right, and bitter. But the water that'll come out is more fragrant.
Hmm.
And sometimes you have to put, I think there's some techniques where they talk about um, keeping like a cold cloth on the lid so that the lid is cold so that the condensation forms better.
Oh, interesting.
But that's a whole nother topic. There's so much to talk about, Anne.
Oh, God, there is. And it's fun to see how much chemistry and physics come into some of this.
Well, exactly. I mean, like your story of the catnip probably was used during the Black Plague, right? Probably makes a lot of sense,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? I mean, so much of history is actually lost, right? So we don't really know some of the stuff. And then a lot of it was suppressed by the church too. So there's that as well. But
Hmm. Very true.
well, Anne, I wish you a very good rest of the day, and I hope everybody takes some time for themselves. And so important, especially in the current climate that we're in, because we can very easily get obsessed and start doom scrolling and, you know, putting down the phone and having a cup of catnip tea sounds quite lovely.
Yeah, and having a nice candle to remind ourselves to take time to rejuvenate and relax is very good and essential for our days, especially as we look ahead. Thank you so much, Trevor.
Thank you, Anne, and thank everybody for watching and subscribing and liking the videos and commenting on them and promoting them on your own social media platforms, which I know some of you are doing. So huge
And
thank you,
thank
everybody.
you to everybody who donated through Buy Me a Coffee as well.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, everyone, have a great day. Bye bye.
Bye.